Welcome back to the next section of Traefik Training. In this section, it's all about security and what we should do to secure traffic even further. Now, these are my recommendations, and this is kind of good rules of thumb generally. So for the dashboard and API, I really recommend that you restrict the access to your known IP addresses, for example, your internal network. This prevents anyone publicly able to access it. For us, we've actually enabled like a VPN, so only VPN access can access it. It really kind of restricts your blast area as far as who can actually access the admin side of traffic. This is very, very important because you don't want this publicly exposed on the internet. It's just not good practice. Next up is use secure mode. Like we shown in the lab, we enable secure mode, so no longer can you access the API or the dashboard using IP address, rather you need a host name. Don't enable the API in production unless you have a use case. It just also, we don't turn features on unless you actually need it. And that's also a good rule of thumb for all the features within Traefik, but just generally across Docker and microservices as a whole. Now, if you do use API in production, ensure that you have basic auth installed and you at least secure it. That brings us to the next point is enable the auth middleware for the dashboard and API. And that's really key because we want, even if it's only restricted to our IP addresses, we want to make sure it's only for the users we intend it to be used for. And finally, use TLS for the traffic domain. And the reason for that is by default, Traefik actually exposes the dashboard and API over HTTP. We should be using HTTPS, so we're not transferring plain text information back and forth. So that's the security considerations I would recommend for Traefik. There are many more, but this is a great place to start. So let's start with these. If you have these 5 things enabled, then you are already on the right track. Join me in the next section as we do the operations recap.